You had a thought today that you did not ask for. Maybe it showed up the moment you woke up. Maybe it crept in during a quiet moment when everything else was fine. A voice that said you are not good enough, that you made the wrong choice, that something bad is coming, that people see through you. You did not invite it. You did not choose it. And no matter how hard you tried to push it away, it came back louder. That is not a character flaw. That is not weakness. That is one of the oldest survival mechanisms in the human brain firing exactly the way it was designed to fire. The problem is not that you have negative thoughts. The problem is that your brain was never built for the world you are living in right now. And here is what nobody tells you. You cannot stop negative thoughts by fighting them. The harder you fight, the stronger they get. But there is a way through. And it starts with understanding what your brain is actually doing when those thoughts appear. This is how to control negative thoughts. Your brain has a default mode. Scientists call it the default mode network. It is a cluster of brain regions that activates whenever you are not focused on a specific task. When you are not solving a problem, not having a conversation, not reading or driving or working, your brain does not go quiet. It goes searching. It runs a constant background scan of your life looking for unresolved threats, social tensions, unfinished business, and potential future dangers. Neuroscientist Marcus Reichel at Washington University first mapped this network in 2001, and what he found surprised the entire field. The brain at rest is not resting at all. It is working harder than a brain doing focused tasks. And the content of that work is almost entirely self-referential. It is thinking about you, your mistakes, your future, your relationships, your standing among others, your risks. This is where negative thoughts live, not in a broken part of your brain, in the most active, most ancient, most fundamental part of it. Go back 300,000 years. Your ancestor sits at the edge of the group. The fire is low, the night is quiet, and their brain with nothing else to do begins to run through everything that could go wrong. The predator that came close last night. The tension with the hunter who looked at them strangely. The food supply that is running lower than it should be. The child who has been coughing. The brain that runs this scan and finds a threat and sounds the alarm is the brain that survives. The brain that stays calm and assumes everything is fine is the brain that gets eaten, expelled, or starved. Negative thinking is not a bug. It is the feature that kept your ancestors alive long enough to become you. Psychologists call this negativity bias. The brain is not designed to weigh positive and negative information equally. It weights negative information more heavily, stores it more deeply, returns to it more often, and processes it with more urgency. Rick Hansen, a neuropsychologist and author of the book Hardwiring Happiness, describes the brain as having Velcro for negative experiences and Teflon for positive ones. Bad experiences stick. Good experiences slide off. And this asymmetry was useful for hundreds of thousands of years because in a dangerous world, missing a threat was fatal. Missing a good thing was merely unfortunate. But you do not live in that world. You live in a world where the threats your brain is scanning for are not predators or starvation. They are emails you have not replied to, conversations you replayed at 2 a.m., fears about money, status, belonging, and what other people think of you. Your ancient threat detector is running its ancient software on modern problems, and it cannot tell the difference. This is why you can wake up on a perfectly safe morning in a comfortable bed with food in your kitchen and still feel a low hum of dread that you cannot explain. Your brain is not responding to your actual life. It is responding to every life your ancestors ever lived. So what do? The first thing you need to understand is that trying to stop a negative thought makes it worse. Daniel Wegner, a psychologist at Harvard University, demonstrated this in one of the most famous experiments in cognitive science. He told participants not to think about a white bear. Just do not think about it. What happened was immediate and striking. Participants thought about the white bear constantly, more than a control group who had been told to think about it freely. The act of suppression created an ironic monitoring process. Part of the brain was now dedicated to checking whether the forbidden thought had appeared, which meant that thought was being actively retrieved and checked constantly. Suppression does not silence a thought, it amplifies it. This is why telling yourself to think positive does not work. It is why telling yourself to calm down when you are anxious makes you more anxious. The brain does not respond to direct commands to stop. It responds to redirection, to replacement, to engagement. The second thing you need to understand is that a thought is not a fact. This sounds simple. It is not. Your brain generates thoughts the same way your heart generates beats, automatically, continuously, without your permission. A thought that says you are going to fail your presentation is not evidence that you will fail your presentation. It is electrical activity in a threat detection system that has been running since before language existed. Labeling a thought as just a thought rather than as reality creates what neuroscientists call cognitive diffusion. It creates distance between you and the content of the thought. You are not the thought. You are the one noticing the thought. Stephen Hayes, a psychologist at the University of Nevada and the founder of acceptance and commitment therapy, spent decades developing a framework built on this single insight. The goal is not to eliminate negative thoughts. The goal is to change your relationship to them, to see them as weather passing through rather than as permanent facts about your life. A storm is not the sky. The thought is not you. The third thing you need to understand is that the brain physically changes based on what you pay attention to. This is neuroplasticity, and it is the most hopeful finding in modern neuroscience. Every time you notice a negative thought and choose not to follow it, not to argue with it, not to suppress it, but simply to observe it and redirect your attention, you are literally rewiring your brain. You are weakening the neural pathway that leads from trigger to spiral. You are building a new pathway that leads from trigger to observation to choice. Rick Hansen calls this taking in the good, not forcing positivity, not pretending, but deliberately lingering on positive or neutral experiences for an extra 10 to 20 seconds to allow them to encode more deeply in neural tissue. The brain changes slowly, but it changes. And the direction of change is determined by what you consistently pay attention to. Now here's the practical part, because understanding is not enough. The brain does not change through knowledge, it changes through repeated experience. The first practice is called noting. When a negative thought appears, you do not engage with it, you do not argue with it, analyze it, or try to resolve it. You simply name it. Worry, self-criticism, fear, future projection, that is it. Just a one-word label. Research from UCLA by Matthew Lieberman showed that labeling an emotional experience reduces activity in the amygdala, the brain's primary threat detection region, and increases activity in the prefrontal cortex, the region responsible for rational thinking and decision-making. Naming a feeling literally shifts neural power away from the emotional brain toward the thinking brain. One word, every time. The second practice is called diffusion. When a thought appears, instead of treating it as reality, you add a simple prefix. My brain is telling me that I am going to fail. My brain is telling me that nobody likes me. My brain is telling me that something bad is coming. This simple linguistic shift creates the distance that makes the thought observable rather than consuming. You are watching the thought from outside rather than being swallowed by it from inside. The third practice is attention redirection, not suppression. Redirection. When you notice a negative thought has taken hold, you deliberately bring your attention to something immediate and sensory. What you can see right now. What you can hear. What your body feels in contact with the chair or the floor. The breath moving in and out. Sensory experience is happening in the present moment. Negative thoughts are almost always happening in the past or the future. Anchoring to the senses does not eliminate the thought. It simply removes the fuel it needs to grow. The fourth practice is what Hansen calls savoring. When something good happens, no matter how small, you deliberately slow down and stay with it for 20 seconds or more. The warmth of a hot drink, a moment of laughter, a task completed, the feeling of sunlight. You are not performing gratitude, you are doing the neurological work of encoding positive experience into long-term memory so that your brain's default mode network has more balanced material to work with when it runs its background scan. None of these practices stop negative thoughts. That is not the goal. The goal is to change your relationship to them so that they move through you rather than taking root in you. A thought that is noticed, named, and released does not have the same power as a thought that is resisted, fought, and suppressed. Your brain is not broken. It is ancient. It is doing exactly what it was built to do in a world that no longer exists. The threat detector that kept your ancestors alive is now scanning your inbox and your relationships and your future plans and treating them all with the same urgency as a predator in the dark. That urgency is not proportional to your actual danger, but it is real, and it deserves your understanding, not your contempt. The thoughts will come. They always will. They came for your ancestors around the fire 300,000 years ago, and they will come for you in the quiet moments of your perfectly ordinary day. The question is not how to make them stop, The question is what you do in the moment between the thought arriving and you deciding what it means. That moment is where everything changes. That moment is where you are not your ancient brain running ancient software. That moment is where you get to choose. You had a thought today that you did not ask for, and now you know exactly what it was. Not a verdict, not a prophecy, not the truth about who you are, just a signal. Ancient, automatic, and no longer in charge.